it's me, Lindy from Stitch and Lindy. I'm doing a recipe video tonight. I wanted to show you, I actually had quite a bit of interest in my my meal prep planning for my dinners this week. And a lot of people were asking me for my recipe for my cauliflower gnocchi. So here, or how do we say it again? The Italians are gonna hit me. Gnocchi. Close enough. My Italian accent is not well, so I'm calling it gnocchi. Sorry for all the Italians out there. But it is my cauliflower gnocchi. Okay, so the ingredients that you're going to use are very basic. So you need a head of cauliflower. You can use the cauliflower rice if you wanted to. One bag, maybe up to 2 bags is enough. I'm using a head of cauliflower because I have one that I have to use up. This is good for when you have to use up your cauliflower. If it's starting to go, mine's starting to get some spots on it. So this is good because it's going to be pulsed down. So good way to use up some vegetables that you have. I'm adding some garlic powder, some pepper, and some Parmesan and herb. And then you need your flour. And I am going to be using a food processor to make this. So if you don't have a food processor, you will have to somehow get your cauliflower chopped very, very small. So if you have a hand chopper or even a masher might do. I don't know. I haven't tried it with a masher. I've always done it with a food processor. So these are the basic ingredients just for the gnocchi itself. Okay, so the first step you want to do is cut off all of the cauliflower florets off of the head. I'm using my Epicure steamer. If you don't have an Epicure steamer, you can use a steaming pot or just boil them, whichever way you would prefer. I mean, you could even roast them if you wanted to, but you want them soft. So boiling or steaming would be the best bet. I am putting these in my Epicure steamer and I'm going to steam them for 8 minutes. Give or take, depending on how hot your microwave is, you might need up to 10 minutes, but 8 minutes usually does the trick for me. Another thing I wanted to share was while my cauliflower is steaming, this is the sauce that I use on mine. You can use anything really on this. You could put a tomato sauce if you wanted to. This is what I like to use. This is a Classico roasted garlic. This I find is the best point-wise for WW. This works out too. I'm on blue. It's 2 points per quarter cup. So you really don't need more than that when you're using gnocchi because it's a heavy pasta because it's either potato or cauliflower and it's all flour. So you don't want a lot of sauce because it just soaks up into it. So a quarter cup for 2 points on blue. And if you wanted to, you can saute up some, I'm going to do some mushrooms and spinach to throw in with these as well, but you can just have it with the sauce itself. I have seen a lot of recipes where people just fry the gnocchi after it's cooked, and they just fry it in a little bit of either butter or oil with some garlic. But it's up to you. I would prefer to have a sauce, so I always use this on mine. So Classico roasted garlic, and this is again a quarter cup for 2 points on blue. So just make sure you are pointing out these ingredients depending on your plan. And I always suggest make sure you're pointing out this recipe based on what ingredients you use, because you might be using a different brand of ingredients than I am, so it might work out to more or less points than what mine is. So the next thing you want to do while your cauliflower is still steaming is you want to get your pot of water on, because this is the first step of cooking the gnocchi, is boiling it in the water after you've already formed the pieces. So there are quite a few steps to this recipe, but this is number 1 is the boiling process. So get your pot of water on. I've added a little bit of salt and just a drizzle of olive oil. I know it looks like more in there, but it's actually just a little bit. I don't personally count it in my points. Some may count it, but I don't even think it's a teaspoon of olive oil. And it's just to help the gnocchi actually not stick. I add that to my pasta water as well. You don't need to add it if you don't want to, but I just find it helps so that they don't stick to the bottom and together. So just a little bit of olive oil and some salt, and just let that boil. Okay, so mine took about 10 minutes. You can see it's very hot. They just came out. So you just want to make sure that you can pierce through the stalks very easily. That way it's soft enough. And you're just going to add these into your food processor, and you want to mix these first. You want to blend these first in the food processor before you start adding anything, because you want to know how much roughly you have of the actual cauliflower. So just add this into your food processor, and you want to give it a few pulses just till it's pretty well blended down. And then we can start adding the other ingredients. Okay, so this is just after a very quick pulse. So as you can see, it's almost like a cauliflower rice. So it took about maybe 2 seconds. So now what you want to do is kind of estimate roughly how much is in there, because you want to add around the equal amounts of flour. So I'm going to start by adding just 1 cup of flour, and we're going to add that to it and pulse it. And what you want to do is you just want to get it going till it's almost like a dough texture. If you find that it is too dry, you can add a little bit of water. You can add 1 egg if you wanted to, but I always just add water just because it's the simplest ingredient to add into it. You can add the egg to give it some protein into the meal. And at the same time, add in your seasoning. So I'll be adding in my garlic powder, pepper, and some Parmesan and herb. If you do want to season them any other way, you can add any flavors that you want to this. That's just the basic flavor that I want, because the sauce gives it the most of the flavor. Plus you are going to be frying these as well. So that will give it added flavor. So I'm just going to add in my seasonings and start with 1 cup of flour and pulse it together until it forms a ball of dough. I'll come back and tell you exactly how much flour I added. Okay, so this is what it looks like after adding 2 cups of flour. So it's sticky. It's sticky like a dough, and that's what you want. So what you're going to do is lay this out onto your counter with a bit of flour, and you're going to roll it just like a dough. Okay, so I've laid this out, and like I said, this is really sticky, so you want to get flour on top as well. So you will be accounting for a little bit more flour. I would say probably about 2 1/4 cup of flour for this recipe. And keep in mind, when you plate this doesn't look like much of a meal, but it's very heavy because you're either making this with cauliflower or potato, and this is the main, like you'd be eating a whole head of cauliflower if you ate this whole thing. So it's a very heavy meal. So it might not look like much, but you do get quite a bit of servings. I'd say I'll probably get about 5 servings out of this, maybe even more. So you just want to knead this as much as you can. And it's not sticky at all anymore because I have added the bit of flour on the top. And then what you want to do is you want to take off pieces, best as I can with one hand here. And you're going to roll this into like a snake form. So just like you would with a regular gnocchi when you're making it, roll it out into, and it's like this dough is so versatile. I've actually made a pizza with this, and it's the best pizza. This knocks 2 ingredient dough out of the park. It's so amazing. And you can make a white pizza with it because it's so good with the Alfredo sauce. That same Alfredo sauce that I said I'm going to use for this meal, that's what I would use when I'm making the pizza. And it's amazing. Put on some grilled chicken, some spinach, mushrooms, anything that would be good on a white pizza. It's amazing. So you just want to roll it into a snake. You can make them however fat that you want them. And then you're just going to cut these into pieces. So each of these snakes, you're going to cut into as many small pieces as you can. And what you're going to do, by now, my water is boiling in my pot. And you're going to pop these into that water. And these take maybe 30 seconds, just until, same as the regular gnocchi, they pop to the top of the boiling water, and then that's when it's done. And what you want to do after that is the best, I find, because if you don't do all these full steps, the gnocchi will taste so doughy and it just soaks up so much of the sauce. So just be careful when you're plopping these in. because it's very hot. So you want to put them into boiling water. You can turn it down a bit. My stove is quite hot. And then once they come up to raise to the top, that's when you're going to take them out, and your next step is baking them. So get all of these rolled into your snakes and get them put into your water. And once they raise to the top, you lay them out on a baking sheet, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you can see these are coming up to the top. So all you want to do is take out the ones that are coming to the top with a slotted ladle, I guess it's called. And as most of you know, I'm suffering from no stove syndrome. So I'm using my toaster oven. And I'm just going to lay these out on a sheet, on a baking sheet, put these in your oven, lay them out in baking sheet that's either got a silicone baking mat on it or spray it with some Pam olive oil spray just so it doesn't stick. You're going to be flipping these as they cook, and when you do flip them, you're going to be spraying them with a little bit more olive oil. I'd say every 10 minutes, double check on them. What you want to do is you want to get a good crisp on them, and then once you get the crisp on them, it takes, I'd say, about a half an hour. Maybe not that long, depending on how hot your oven is. I have my toaster oven set at 375. So I'll let you know how long I cook these, but you want to flip them every 10 minutes. Just stir them around and add a little bit of olive oil just maybe once more throughout the cooking process on the tops of them. So I'm going to put these ones in my toaster oven. I'll be back and let you know how long they cook, but you put them in your oven, not your toaster oven. I hope you all have a toaster oven or a stove and not a toaster oven like us. Okay, so after 10 minutes, this is what they are looking like. The first batch. I'll have to do these in a couple because this toaster oven is too small. So you just want to flip them either with tongs or with a spatula. And you just want to, so you can see they're getting golden brown. So that's what you're wanting. You're wanting them to all be golden brown on both sides. So I would say another 10 minutes and we're good on these. So roughly 20 minutes at 375. Make sure you're flipping at the 10-minute mark. And then after you've done flipping these, spray these with a little bit more of the Pam olive oil spray and bake them for another 10 minutes. And then I'll show you our last and final step. So in the meantime, while that's cooking, what you want to do is you want to get this on just in a small saucepan and heat this. You can either just warm this up and have it by itself, or you can saute up some mushroom, spinach, any kind of vegetables that you would want and throw in with the sauce and the gnocchi after. But I'm just going to actually warm these up for a faster meal for tonight. So I'm just warming up this sauce into a small saucepan, and then we'll add that afterwards. Okay, and this is the color that you're wanting on them. So once these are all golden brown on both sides, what you're going to do is you're going to add them to your frying pan, just at a medium-low heat with a little bit of your Pam olive oil spray in. You're just going to crisp them up a little bit more and then top them with your sauce. Okay, so just get them frying in the pan just until they're a little bit more crispy. You don't necessarily have to do this. You can leave them baking for a little bit longer if you wanted to, just to get that crunch on them. I don't like when it's like a doughy texture on them. So I just really like the crisp of them, but you can leave them in the oven for a little bit longer instead of frying them as well if you wanted to skip this step. And that is what it looks like topped with your 1/4 cup of your sauce. Okay, so that's the recipe for the cauliflower gnocchi. So I got 5 servings out of this recipe with 2 1/4 cups of flour, your seasoning, which you're not using barely any, so that's no points, and your cauliflower is 0. If you did add an egg, again, it's 0 unless you are on a different plan where eggs are not 0. So make sure you are double checking your ingredients. So with getting 5 servings, your gnocchi alone is 6 points a serving on blue, and 2 points for the 1/4 cup of the sauce. So an 8-point meal, and it's very satisfying. And you could add anything to this. You could even throw in chicken to have on top with the sauce. So a very filling meal. It is a bit time consuming, but it's so worth it. And like I said, this dough is very versatile. I've made pizza with this. You can make it, you can use this in place of the 2-ingredient dough if you wanted to. Point wise, It's roughly the same. I just really like the taste a lot better because of the cauliflower. And yeah, I really like it. So yeah, that's my recipe for cauliflower gnocchi. I hope you guys like it. As always, my handles are at the bottom, Stitch and Lindy on Connect. And my Facebook group is Stitch and Lindy's Weight Loss Journey. Thanks for watching.